Welcome to Midnight Files. If you're brave enough to stay until the end, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and share your own story in the comments below. Tonight is the top 5 Ask Reddit creepy encounter you won't believe happened. Turn off your lights, plug in your headphones, and let's begin. Number 5.
I don't smoke, and I don't have many friends who do, but I keep several ashtrays at home, just in case. So, one day, about a year ago, I was looking for some papers, and I found one of those ashtrays in one of the cupboards. It was completely empty and quite clean. I was pretty busy that day, so instead of putting the ashtray back in the cupboard, I just laid it on the kitchen table and went to do some repair work in the garage. I returned inside the house about an hour later, and the ashtray, still lying on the kitchen table, was filled with cigarette ash. No cigarette butts, just ash. I felt a faint scent of cigarette smoke in the house, definitely not as strong as I would have expected, judging by the amount of ash. Like I said, the ashtray was definitely empty and clean when I found it and put it on the table. I took a kitchen knife and carefully searched the entire house. Nobody was there. I checked all the doors and windows. They were locked. Then I searched the house again, checking was any cash or valuables missing, but it was all there. I called all my friends, even non-smokers, and asked them did they happen to drop by my house that day. They all said no. I also inspected locks for damage, but there didn't appear to be any. I changed locks, just in case, and had trouble sleeping for days afterwards. I actually stored the ash into the bag, and I still keep it in the drawer, just in case. Though I doubt it will actually resolve or prove anything. The day after that bizarre incident, a murder took place in my neighborhood. A mentally disturbed girl with a history of drug abuse stabbed a convenience store cashier to death, following an argument over a pack of cigarettes. It is very likely unrelated, but sometimes I wonder. I don't keep spare keys in the yard, in front of the door, or anything like that, in case someone is wondering.
Number 4.
We lived in a house a few years back, and random things would just go missing. Then they'd turn up somewhere else. We never really thought hard on it because they were never expensive or important things. So because of this, none of us ever mentioned it to each other. Fast forward, and Mom loses an earring. Not a huge deal, but it's a nice dangly pair she wears frequently. Maybe a month later, I come home and find it perfectly laid out in the middle of the ground at the end of a high-traffic hallway. It has 3 doors at the end. Take a photo and show Mom when she gets back. Give her back her earring, and we discuss the oddity. I mention that lately I've been misplacing random inconsequential stuff, like staplers, and she looks at me and she goes, "That's weird." Me too. Our housemate gets home and we mention it, and he goes, "Oh man, so weird. My razor vanished for a while, and I found it back on my sink one day." So basically, we're all convinced there was a friendly ghost attached to that house that just misplaced things to let us know they were present.
Number 3.
As a child, I moved around a lot, army brat, and I insisted that every house I moved to was haunted. Nothing major ever happened, just weird noises, opening doors, things being in places that makes no sense. It wasn't until my second year at uni that I clocked on that I was haunted, not the houses, after my housemate suggested it. Anyway, last year, I was on the way to my uni house from my job at a bar at about 3 a.m. To get into the house, you have to walk down a privately owned alleyway. Just as I reach the entrance to this alley, a man runs up behind me and spins me around. He's clearly had a bit too much to drink and starts trying to grab me, touch me up, and convince me to remove my t-shirt. Naturally, I'm very uncomfortable and scared. I remember that the window to the house had an alarm that went off if the window was hit. I figured if I could get down the alley and hit the window, my 2 male housemates would wake up and help. Only issue, every time I walked down the alley, he'd grab me again. After maybe 5 minutes of a struggle, the man hit me. Next thing you know, the alarm on the window goes off, waking up my housemates and scaring off the man. Next day, the police were called. We gave them access to the CCTV footage at either end of the alley. The man was caught on tape, but since most of the incident occurred in the alley, there was not enough evidence to charge. Later that day, my housemates and I decided to check the footage to see what caused the alarm to go off. There was nothing. No bird, cat, or any other animal. The alarm just went off. This had never happened before, and didn't happen any time after either. I'm convinced it was my ghost. It used to freak me out, but I'm kinda glad it's around now.
Number 2.
March 2015. My father passed a month or so earlier. I wasn't sleeping well. I would be up later and later at night. My father used to always give me shit for staying up so late because it's ruining my sleep schedule and affecting my work, standard parenting stuff. It's about 2:30 a.m. and I'm watching YouTube on my PS4. Power in the house flickers. I check the window. No rain or wind or anything. I figured somebody hit a pole somewhere. Couple minutes later, power goes out for a second, comes right back on. Nothing was affected, which is weird because when power goes out, electronics reset. Check the window again, still nothing happening outside. A couple minutes later, power goes out for almost a whole minute. From the couch, I can see the street light outside is still lit, as well as the other houses on the street. Power comes back on, and everything is still as it was. Video continues where it left off, clocks haven't reset, nothing. It's now 2:37 a.m. I audibly said, "Okay," and went to bed. Next morning, I wake up for work. The clock on the oven says 11-something a.m. My phone says 7:23. It was around 11 when my father left the house the day he passed. Fast forward to January of this year, 3-year anniversary of my father's passing. I can't sleep. I'm upstairs of my new home, watching Netflix. Power flickers and goes out. I immediately said, "Okay, I'm going to bed." Power comes back on. Next morning, getting ready for work. Oven clock says 11:41 a.m. Dad doesn't like when I stay up too late. Edit. Learn the difference between affect and effect.
Tonight's top story.
My brother and I were home alone one night watching TV. My mother was working a night shift and father was out. Father came home and pushed the door ajar and poked his head through to say hello. We both turn around and say hello back. Father closed door. 30 seconds after, another man opens the door to say hello. We both turn around and say hello back. Man closes door. We assume a friend of my father has come back to the house too. Anyway, about 5 minutes later, I head into the kitchen where my father was, making dinner or whatever, and I'm expecting to see his friend again. I see that he's alone making dinner and assumed his friend was upstairs in the bathroom. I ask my father who his friend is. My father looks at me and asks me, "What friend?" I reply, "The guy who came back with you." Dad looks at me thinking I'm some sort of weirdo. He says, "I came back home on my own." Biggest what? I've ever experienced. My brother was freaked out to the max. Remembering the man's face, he was pale-looking and bright white hair.
That's the end of this video. If you like this kind of content, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, or comment your stories, and thanks for watching. See you on the next video.